The phone in my hand lit up with Tyler's name as the conference room buzzed with conversation. Expecting the usual niceties about my trip, I stepped into the corridor. But instead of the expected small talk, Tyler's voice was emotionless and almost smug. "I'm divorcing you," he announced triumphantly. "I've already sold the apartment," he continued, leaving me to find a new place to live. It was audacious, leaving me momentarily breathless. His voice was devoid of any sorrow, almost laughable in its insensitivity. My grip tightened as I absorbed his words. "You sold the apartment?" I managed, keeping my voice firm. "Yes," he replied dryly. "Nicole and I need funds for our future," claiming she deserved more than the modest place we had. Her name, Nicole, though expected for months, still stung. Tyler's late nights, surprise business trips, the emotional gap widening, all led to the conclusion of another person. Yet to hear her name as though I was the outsider inflamed me. "All right," I responded, unwilling to show any weakness. "I'm Amelia, and until now, believed Tyler was someone I could count on. 6 years together, not flawless, but I thought in unity. We poured effort into our city apartment. It wasn't just walls. It was a testament to our shared journey. At least, that's what I believed." In hindsight, cracks were apparent. Tyler's dismissals when finances were discussed, his way of charming away my worries with a grin and a peck, appeared as confidence. Now I recognized it as manipulation. The day blurred as I navigated through work commitments, appearing present, yet mentally processing his betrayal. He imagined he'd vanquished me, seized my hard-earned home, leaving with impunity. But unbeknownst to him, the property title had solely been in my possession since refinancing, a process he obliviously agreed upon for lower rates. By the evening when reaching my hotel, shock transformed into determination. Tears and pleas weren't on the agenda. Tyler desired conflict. I was ready to engage. Chloe, my lawyer and dear friend, was my first call. I relayed every detail, with controlled calmness despite the adrenaline. "He sold the apartment," she echoed, astounded. "Can he even do that without your approval?" "Apparently not," I replied with quiet amusement. His alleged expenditures for a life with Nicole were irrelevant. Chloe chuckled. "He's in for a shock. The sale is void. Your ownership is clear. If funds have changed hands, he's liable for fraud." The concept sparked satisfaction. "What's our move?" I inquired. "Inform the buyer that the transaction is invalid," Chloe advised. "Then notify Tyler formally about the repercussions. If stupidity compels further action, we'll pursue legal recourse." Releasing the call, tranquility enveloped me. Tyler's perceived superiority, thinking he'd devastated and disarmed me, was actually orchestrating his own downfall. Reclaiming control and disrupting his arrogance fueled a newfound vigor within. Throughout the remainder of my trip, I channeled focus into projects, isolating emotions, and concentrating on future remedies. The duplicity hurt, but reclaiming agency invigorated a purpose long dormant. With resolve, I boarded my flight home, prepared to confront Tyler and the challenges ahead. The flight back gave me hours of reflection on how everything had fallen apart. Tyler's arrogance was overwhelming. He didn't even bother to conceal his betrayal, as if I was merely an obstacle on his path to liberation. However, instead of succumbing to fury, I strategized about my actions upon returning. Tyler thought I was powerless, unaware that I had been unknowingly preparing for this moment all along. As the plane landed, my first call was to Chloe. "I'm back," I informed her as I retrieved my suitcase from the carousel. "What's the next step?" I asked. "The buyer has been informed," she responded, her tone brisk and efficient. They were shocked, to say the least, and not pleased with Tyler. "They're willing to cooperate, which strengthens our case." "And Tyler?" I questioned. "I emailed him the formal notice this morning," she explained. It detailed the illegality of the sale, the sole ownership of the apartment, and the potential fraud consequences. "He hasn't replied yet, but I bet he's furious." Good, I thought, relishing in letting him simmer. Upon arriving home, the apartment felt eerily still. Tyler's belongings were scattered, his jackets draped over the chair and shoes by the door, but the atmosphere was altered, like the energy had shifted. I placed my suitcase down with a deep breath, aware that a confrontation was imminent. True to my expectations, Tyler stormed in that evening, red-faced and clutching his phone. "What the hell is this?" he demanded, brandishing the letter Chloe sent. "You're telling me I can't sell the apartment? It's half mine." "No, Tyler," I replied calmly, folding my arms. "The deed has been in my name for months. You can't sell what you don't own." He paused, his face twisted in confusion and anger. "What are you talking about?" I retrieved the deed from my files and showed it to him. After we refinanced, I had the deed transferred to my name. "You signed off on it, remember? Or did you just skim the paperwork like always?" For a moment he was silent, then sneered. "You think you're smart? This changes nothing. I've made a deal already, and you'll look foolish when it crumbles." I met his gaze steadily. "The sale is null, Tyler. The buyer is aware and ready to take legal action unless you refund the money. Speaking of which," I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "If you've touched any of that deposit, you're in deeper trouble." For the first time, Tyler hesitated. "You don't know what you're talking about," he mumbled, avoiding eye contact.
"Oh,
"I know precisely," I replied, my voice unwavering. "You've spent years assuming I was too naive to catch on. But guess what, Tyler? I've been observing, and now it's time for you to face the consequences." He began pacing, frustration growing. "This is absurd. You're overreacting. You can't just throw me out." I raised an eyebrow. "Actually, I can. Legally. This apartment is mine. You can stay for now, only because I'm granting you the courtesy of time to plan your next move. But make no mistake, I'm not leaving." In the following days, Tyler's anger turned to desperation. He repeatedly called, leaving frantic voicemails, oscillating between pleas and threats.
meanwhile,
Chloe was tying up loose ends, ensuring the buyer rescinded all agreements, furious at Tyler for wasting their time and money. She also began drafting the initial divorce paperwork. "You're in a strong position, Em," she assured me during a meeting. "Tyler has no leverage now. With the voided sale and fraud charges looming, he'll have to cooperate to avoid bigger repercussions." Her assurance was comforting, but Laura and my best friend visited one evening to assist me in reorganizing the apartment. We carefully packed up Tyler's possessions, stacking them neatly in the living room corner. "How's he handling all this?" she asked, smirking as she held one of his gaudy ties. "Not well," I replied, laughing despite myself. "He's still under the delusion he can talk his way out of it, but I'm firm." "Good," she said, flinging the tie into the box. "He doesn't deserve a bit of your space or time." I nodded, a wave of gratitude rushing over me for her support. For so long, I bore the emotional and financial weight of the marriage, while Tyler misappropriated all the credit.
but now,
I had allies in my corner, and that made all the difference. The final piece of my plan fell into place the day Tyler brought Nicole to the apartment. I was seated at the dining table, engrossed in paperwork, when they waltzed in as if they owned the place. Nicole glanced around with a smug look, her arm entwined with Tyler's. "So this is where we're staying?" she inquired, her voice heavy with entitlement. I rose, my heart racing but my determination unwavering. "No," I stated firmly. "This is where Tyler was staying. You, Nicole, won't be staying here at all." Her smile wavered, and she shot a glance at Tyler, who seemed equally shocked. "What is this?" he demanded. "This," I said, gesturing around the apartment, "is my home. Not yours, not hers. And certainly not a hotel for you to cozy up in after betraying me." Nicole's expression turned frosty, but she remained silent. Tyler, on the other hand, appeared on the verge of erupting. "You can't do this," he yelled. "You're being unreasonable." I met his stare, unflinching. "No, Tyler. What's unreasonable is believing you can sell my home, walk away with the money, and expect me to simply roll over. You're fortunate I haven't filed criminal charges yet. Tyler stood in the doorway, frustration painting his face red, while Nicole crossed her arms, looking increasingly uncomfortable. You're being absurd, Amelia, he said, desperation seeping through his voice. This is my home. I advanced a step, my voice calm but unyielding. This is my home, Tyler. The deed has been in my name for months, and you know that. You signed the paperwork without even reading it, just as you always do. So no, this isn't your home anymore. Nicole turned to Tyler, her manicured hand clenching tighter around her purse. Wait, what's she talking about? She queried sharply. You said this was your apartment, that you sold it. He flinched, trying to dismiss her. It's complicated, I'll handle it. Oh, it's not complicated, I said, stepping closer. You attempted to sell an apartment that doesn't belong to you. That sale is void, Tyler, and as of right now, you're standing on nothing. Nicole's demeanor cracked. You mean the money you said you had? She stopped mid-sentence, her voice rising. Oh my God. Did you lie about that too? Nicole, let me explain. Tyler quickly interjected, hands raised in defense. But she wasn't having it.
No, interrupted.
Let me explain. Tyler attempted to sell the apartment without my knowledge, thinking he could pocket the proceeds and leave me with nothing. What he didn't realize is that I'd transferred the deed to my name months ago. So not only did he fail in selling it, but he also committed fraud by attempting to do so. Nicole's mouth opened and closed, resembling a fish gasping for air. Fraud, she whispered, stepping away from him. Are you serious? Yes, fraud, I stated, arms crossed. And I'm prepared to press charges if he doesn't remove his belongings by the day's end. Tyler's facade finally shattered. You can't do this, Amelia, he pleaded, his voice now softening. We've been together for 6 years. You can't just throw me out. You threw me out the moment you made that phone call. I retorted, my voice steely. You told me you were divorcing me and laughed about me having to find a new place to live. You didn't just betray. Tyler, you attempted to destroy me. So don't pretend like you're the victim, I said. Nicole took another step back, her eyes flicking between us. This is crazy, she murmured, clutching her purse more tightly. You didn't tell me any of this, Tyler. You said you had everything under control. He turned towards her, desperation etched on his face. Nicole, I can fix this. I just need. He started, but she interrupted him with an upraised hand.
Don't.
I'm not getting pulled into your chaos, she said before spinning around and leaving, her heels clicking decisively as the door shut behind her. Looks like you're on your own, I told Tyler, turning my attention back to him. Now, let's discuss what happens next. He sank onto the couch and buried his face in his hands. Amelia, please, I messed up. I know that. But you don't have to do this, he pleaded. You're right, I said, retrieving a folder from the kitchen counter and placing it on the coffee table in front of him. I don't have to do this. But I will. This is the divorce paperwork, already drafted by my lawyer. I recommend you sign it promptly. The sooner you do, the sooner we can both move on. He stared at the folder, his face ashen. Do you really despise me that much? Despise you? I laughed bitterly. No, Tyler, I don't hate you. I pity you. You had everything, someone who loved you, the home we'd built, and you squandered it because you were blinded by your own ego. My heart raced, but my determination didn't falter. I want you out of here by the end of the day. Pack your belongings and figure out where you'll stay, I instructed. This is the last extension of mercy I'll give you. He opened his mouth to protest, but then he simply nodded, shoulders sagging in defeat. Fine, he muttered, I'll leave. Good, I said, walking towards the door. And don't consider trying anything else. Chloe's in charge now. And next time you cross a line, I won't hesitate to let the courts resolve it. I opened the door, and Tyler stood slowly, grabbing his coat. He avoided eye contact as he exited. His steps weighted with resignation. A fleeting sadness touched me, not for him, but for the life we could have shared if he'd been the man I once believed he was. But the feeling swiftly vanished, replaced by relief. I closed the door behind him, locking it with a new key I'd had made. This was my home now, and no one, especially not Tyler, would take it away again. The silence in the apartment was overwhelming after Tyler's departure. For the first time in years, I felt like I could truly breathe. The space no longer felt burdened with his presence, entitlement, or deceits. It was just me, the home I designed, and the quiet realization that I'd prevailed, not only against him but against every doubt I'd harbored about defending myself. I stood in the living room center, absorbing the emptiness where his belongings had cluttered the space, his oversized gaming chair, the framed jerseys on the walls, and the gaudy coffee table he'd insisted on keeping. All were gone, and the apartment seemed cleaner, brighter, truly mine once more. Lauren visited that evening with takeout and a bottle of wine. "Is he really gone?" she asked, collapsing onto the couch melodramatically. "Gone and not coming back," I confirmed, pouring 2 glasses of wine. I gave him until the day's end to clear his stuff. And he didn't argue. Lauren raised her glass, declaring, "To fresh starts and well-deserved victories." We clinked our glasses, and I felt the burdens of the past week slowly lifting. To never letting anyone walk over me again. Over the following days, I began reclaiming the apartment piece by piece. I rearranged the furniture, displayed my favorite art in the living room, and filled the space with things that brought me joy. This wasn't just about redecorating, it was about transforming the apartment into a reflection of who I truly was, not the person Tyler had tried to mold me into. Chloe called with updates on the legal proceedings, her voice brimming with the kind of confidence that left me feeling invincible. "The fraud charges are off the table since the buyer chose not to pursue them," she informed me, "but the divorce paperwork is progressing smoothly. Once Tyler signs, you'll be..." The word officially free sends a chill down my spine, a twinge that isn't only about the divorce, but encompasses years of baggage. The resentment, self-doubt, and suffocating feeling of a marriage that didn't cherish me finally began to dissipate. Tyler's attempts to reach out varied from lackluster apologies to pitiful efforts to manipulate me into reconsidering. "I made a mistake," one message stated, while another implored, "Amia, are you trying to ruin me? Can't we talk this over?" I left his messages unanswered. I was finally done trying to mend what was irreparably fractured. He made his choices, and now faced the consequences. By week's end, my apartment transformed into a warm, welcoming haven, entirely mine. Sitting on the couch with a steaming cup of tea, city lights dancing outside, I reflected on everything. Tyler's betrayal was a jolt, yet it served as an awakening. For far too long, I convinced myself I didn't deserve more, settling for the crumbs of love and respect Tyler occasionally offered. But now I understood my worth. It wasn't just about reclaiming my space, it was about reclaiming my life. A month later, my life bore little resemblance to its past. The apartment hadn't undergone drastic renovations, but it vibrated differently, reflecting my identity, tastes, and the independence I rediscovered. Without Tyler's clutter or overbearing presence, the space lightened, felt freer. Chloe efficiently managed the divorce proceedings, leaving Tyler no room for argument. He signed the papers without fanfare, realizing his lack of leverage. There was no climactic showdown or emotional appeal, just a clean, bittersweet break that was refreshingly satisfying. While sorting through old papers one day, I found a photo from our early years. Tyler and I, smiling with arms intertwined, hopeful and full of promise. I lingered on it, remembering the good times when I believed in our shared future. Those memories, however, were eclipsed by neglect, manipulation, and betrayal. I slipped the photo into an envelope, placing it in a drawer, not ready to discard it, yet aware it didn't define me anymore. Lauren and I celebrated the finalized divorce with dinner and cocktails at a posh downtown rooftop bar. Raising her drink, she toasted, "You're glowing. Single life treats you well." I laughed sincerely, enveloped in a warmth that felt foreign yet comforting. "It's not about being single. It's about the freedom," I replied. Living under nobody else's rules was liberating. As the night unfolded, Pride swelled within me. Surviving one of life's toughest challenges. I realized I wasn't merely surviving. I was thriving. Back at home, plans for the future took shape. The apartment was more than a sanctuary. It symbolized everything I fought to reclaim. Although I knew I'd eventually relocate to an entirely new place, free from shadows of Tyler's memory, I aimed to savor every moment in this space. Curling up on the couch that night, peace enveloped me. I recalled Tyler's smug laughter during a phone call, oblivious to his impending loss. His arrogance led to his fall, while my quiet resilience became my salvation. This wasn't merely the end of a marriage. It heralded a new chapter where I forged my path and pursued happiness on my own terms. For the first time in ages, I felt truly free.